the beautiful lady that we get from this. I think the tonality is very nice as well. And I think it's a great portrait. Next.
Do you want to review it later? Did you want to keep it and review it later? Robin?
Oh, that's
in
right.
or out?
Is that how you guys?
Not in or out. Just do you want to review it later? Is it image that meets your standards? You want to hold on to it and review it later and include it in the final batch?
I've actually already did all of my
right.
pictures. I got to see them earlier.
Yeah, but you need to pick the ones that you think meet your standards, or like per the email I sent you.
Oh,
kind of like, is you want to keep it and review it later, or do you? I mean, the question is really, does the image meet? You like the image enough that you want to put it in the best group batch, if you will. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, let's make sure. Okay, got it.
Okay, next one.
Oh yeah, we're ready for the next one.
Abandoned hotel.
The title definitely adds a whole nother level of how we look at this. So I like it that you guys always read the title. I think that's very important. And I remember seeing this image before. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. I can't remember when I got to see all of you guys last time, but I think I remember seeing this one. I like the scene and setting. I think it could benefit from a little more landscape around it, a little more sky and cloud to add to the moodiness. It's really compelling as a subject, and I think you could benefit from a wider view of it. The other constructive thing I have to offer is because it is such a moody subject, it doesn't have to be quite as sharp, and it's been sharpened to this very articulated kind of contrasty sharpening. And I would back off on that on this one, especially because of the age and mysteriousness of the subject matter.
So is that one you want to review later or not review later?
I'm going to pass.
Okay, got it. I guess I shouldn't have bought in that hotel. Anyway, next one. Boardwalk Pavilion.
I really enjoyed the abstract quality of this. It makes you think about form. And the first thing I saw when I saw that sweeping motion, it almost looks like the pages of a book or something being turned, where you're looking back into the history and the age that wood can tell us. It's interesting as an abstraction. We know what it is, but then our mind's eye has sort of the ability to step back and enjoy the shapes. So I do think it's successful as an abstraction, and I do like the choice of it being in monochrome. I think that color would not let our eyes feast on the shapes as much as we do here. And I do like it. In the general scheme of it, though, I think I'm going to pass this one.
Okay, got it. Dad's haircut.
This is a photograph that benefits from what we don't see. The subject, is the dad getting the haircut, but I love it that we don't see his face and that we see the other people in profile. And it's really an image about the eye, and not just our eye, where we look when we enter, our first view of the photograph. We quickly can see what's going on. But the two faces in profile and the concentration of the guy's eye that's doing the haircut makes it a very intense kind of moment. His concentration, and then of course the kid looking back, sort of bookends it. And I think that really helps with the composition. We see enough of the scene to make it interesting as well. So we start to get more of a story, a sense of place. And the horizontal lines going through it, the shape of the mirror, the guy's head breaking over the frame of the mirror. There are all these little things in there that make this very compelling. And I think we can have a tendency to get too, infatuated with our subject, that we can focus just on the guy getting the haircut, or we can try to get too much of the face. But this works really well because you're back. The person's not just centered in the middle of the frame. They're off center. It's kind of kicked off to the side, so the energy's going like this, and we get to see the full screen. So this is very successful, and I'm going to keep this one.
Okay. Dubrovnik Cathedral interior.
Again, I think the monochrome is a good choice for this, to see the shapes more fully. It's very symmetrical, not quite right down the middle, but we have this really wonderful symmetry, almost like the two parts of your brain coming together in this harmonic balance. I think it's very interesting as an architectural study as well. I think it's a successful architectural interior shot, and it also is it documents this beautiful place. For the competition, though, I'm going to pass.
All right. Hair. That's the title. Hair.
Well, you definitely get that wispy, tickly feeling from it. It's a nature shot. It also starts to take us into the realm of abstraction, where we see these wonderful shapes and this repetition of shape. I think the choice of monochrome, definitely. There's nothing in the background to distract us from that wonderful repetition that's going on. Also, I really like the choice of the square. And if you look, there's a curve that's happening. So it's almost like this arc that goes through the square, and we go back to these perfect geometric forms of the circle and the square, and how they start to visually speak to each other. So I think it's a very simple, very beautiful image, and would go very well with the nature talk that I want to do for you guys. So I do like this one, and I will put it in for the final consideration.
All righty. Hang 10.
So great nature shot. It's sharp and up close. Love the background dropping out so we don't see a bunch of scraggly bushes and things that distract from our subject, which is very clearly the chipmunk. I like the shape of the tail being repeated in the form of the wood. One suggestion, if possible, if it had been possible, just a tiny tip down of the camera would have gotten more tension of the chipmunk up to the top edge. And then I really want to see that part of the wood that comes down, that knob that's coming off the bottom right-hand corner. I just really want to see the bottom of that. I want to see the completion of that shape and some space down low and maybe up tighter. And that's really picky. That's just a compositional idea that, if we could see that, it might make the image stronger. And I would just consider that, maybe there's another shot where that's all in there. I don't know. But I do think it would help it. And that way your eye would go back around that and come back, and you would have this really cool counterclockwise visual compositional energy thing going. So next.
So you want to forego that one? And
yes.
Okay, to make sure I understood you right. Okay. Julian.
I think this has the interest beyond whether we know these people or not. I mean, it could go in the category of someone we know, or a family portrait or family photography. But there's a grittiness to the black and white that I like, that gives it a nostalgic kind of quality. And it definitely has this sort of cinematic moment of something that's happening. You know, she's looking at him, and then he has this look like, you know, I really don't care what's going on here. And then of course the hair on top, I think, makes it. So I think it's a great moment, and definitely strengthened the facial emotion of the baby is definitely strengthened from black and white. The emotion in the eye, the moment is a good capture. And I like it a lot. For the competition, though, I'm going to pass.
Okay. Lana Thinking.
It's a very beautiful classical study. Of course, black and white lets us see the beautiful forms, the light, the side lighting is very dramatic. Compositionally, we have the figure right in the middle. I think it would have benefited to have some tension, maybe if the curve of the back was up in the corner, and then we had some nice weight at the bottom with some drapery that sort of continued the form of the leg and the figure. I mean, even the wave of the hair could be carried through to the bottom of the photograph in the folds of the fabric or something. I like it. It's a classic image. It's a beautifully done classical subject. Compositionally, I would like to see something more than it just right in the center of the, you know, axis of the image area, the frame. So I am going to skip this one.
All right. Leave it open.
There's a unknown element to this. Immediately, what is the symbol we think of an open door, right? So there's either somebody hiding back there, or it's an entryway into a new realm, to something that we don't know about yet. It clicks in as far as personal symbolism, all of the stuff going on. So there's definitely a mood and mystery to it. I would have a question about the cropping. I mean, the verticality of it matches the shape of the door. So we do have that sense of a vertical tension. So if it's, I guess, like a vertical panorama format, like a square on a square, I think that works. In this case, I think I want to see a little bit more weight at the bottom, and maybe on the sides. You know, can we see a little bit more? That's going to lead us back into that doorway and down the stairs even more. So I think it's a great idea as far as symbolism and interest and intrigue. I want to see some different compositional stuff that can make it even more tense, compositional tension. I mean, I think that could be even your angle. If there's more of the floor coming down, that's going to give you more perspective. I think it's definitely something to look at again and revisit and play with. And I will pass on this one.
All right. Lighthouse Ruin.
And I remember seeing this. We got to talk about this one before too, I think, if my memory serves me. And my idea was that it's such a great ruin that it might be worth it to retouch out some of the more modern elements in the foreground, the post and the chain, and then the sign on the other side. It's a reminder of modern reality that I don't want to think about when I'm looking at this beautiful ruin. I love the contrast. I love the dark sky. I love the whiteness of the bricks of the ruin coming out. And that really, truly a feast for the eye. So I think if you either could, you know, if it's something that you didn't want to have to retouch out, then when you're in the moment shooting it, maybe you get closer or you get more around to the side where you're looking through the windows and getting some of the cloud shapes through the windows and getting more of a tight tension of composition of just the sky and the ruin. And that way you don't see the foreground, you don't see the grass in the foreground or any of the modern elements. We just get that part. And, you know, that being said, maybe it's part of that could be cropped away too into a panorama where you just get the shape of the cloud and the repetition of that shape in the jagged areas of the ruin coming up, you know. It's a cool place. And I will pass on this one.
All right. Like father, like son.
Well, that immediately takes us into a narrative and a story, and it's very simplified mirror image. It's I like it because it's symbolic of the people that we don't see. We kind of imagine them in our minds, you know, who are these people? And yeah, it's cool. They have the, you know, the same shoes, and then the carpet pattern sort of mimics those shapes too into a nice abstraction. The title definitely tells us what we need to know, I think, for the image to make sense. So I agree with that. So yeah, it's cool. It's a statement. It's again, I think stronger being in black and white than in color, because you see the repetition of the shapes much more freely. And I will pass on this one for the final decision.
All right. Middle prong, late afternoon.
There is a lot going on in here. It's a great nature shot. The monochrome choice simplifies it. I think that makes it easier on the eye. It's a nice scenic. The choice to have it sharp and the water sharp, I think works because all that texture of talking to the leaves. The image continues to stay sharp all the way through from the foreground and to the back. And that's a, you know, that's a style, that's a cool style. The light from the upper corner follows through down into the stream. So it's a very simple device to have that light go at an angle through the whole image. So it's beautiful. It's nicely done. And I really don't have any, you know, any thoughts on how it can be improved. It's a scene like we see a lot. And I think for that reason alone, I'm going to pass on it for the final one. You know, if you said, what is the subject of this? It's the light and the light continuing through the water. So it's very restful. There's really, as far as entertaining the viewer, maybe a subject added to it would make it interesting, you know, bump it into another category. But it's
Right.
a you know, fine art articulation place. It's cool. But I'm going to pass on this great shot.
All righty.
For the final smackdown.
All righty. Next is migration.
This really becomes a graphic design. It's, you know, the stark white blown out sky is cool. It's an intention. It's an articulation that the artist has decided to do to make the shape of the trees and the crows more dramatic. So I think it's very successful. You know, our eye starts going around, the shape of the limbs bring us back. The one bird that's looking up to the corner makes it very cool. So I thought it was unique, and I'm going to add it to the final consideration.
All righty, got it. Old friends.
This is a great shot. I would call it, you know, street photography. It's a moment. I don't know if there's more space, but I would like to see, because there's so much, you know, tension when, you know, the angle of the arm and all that going on. I don't know if there's more there, if you've cropped to it or not. But when I see this, I want to know more about it that I'm not getting, and that's a sense of place. You know, the title, of course, lets us know that they know each other, but I want to see more. I want to see more of the scene. I think their expression, the time that we see in their faces, all that becomes really compelling. But I just want to see more. I want to see more of the setting of where they are. I think if this was part of a series, and that's one of the things we've been talking about a lot on a second Saturday photo party that we have every month. It's how images fit together in a series, and if this were part of a bigger narrative about a place or about these people, I think it would be very successful. But alone, I want to know more about it, and I am going to pass on this.
Okay, got it. Ominous cloud bursts.
The bleakness of the gray is absolutely wonderful. I love this because it's not over sharpened. We do not have that hard artifact outline of over sharpening. We have true atmospheric perspective, like you would have in an old painting, where our eye can just go back and back and back. And the more you look into it, the deeper you see. This big cloud is coming forward. You know, our eye, we're actually visually sailing, you know, over the foreground, through the cloud that's the midground, and we just keep going, you know, and then there's this rain, and there's another level of clouds behind that. So the fact that this is not over sharpened, or because the subject is so soft, it has not had a real contrast bump added to it. It allows our eye to see more as if we were really standing there. You know, I can feel the cool mist of the rain in the air before it hits me. I can feel all of this stuff going on. And then even as we go back, there's this hint of water or something else. It, you know, it takes us into this dreaminess. So I think that the photographer made a correct decision in not overly articulating the atmosphere. We really get to soak up this ominous cloud atmosphere, as it's titled. So I'm going to keep this one in.
All right. On a wing.
I liked seeing this in black and white. Typically, I think when we see photos in the air of planes and things like that, it's in our mind, we're going to see it on a blue background, or, you know, it's going to be the sky. But the fact that it's the photographic artist has chosen to make it monochrome makes us appreciate the shapes and the precision of those overlapping of wings even more. The planes themselves are a true black, and there's a true white in the clouds. The texture of the clouds It's all there. Nothing's being lost. None of the highlights are blown out. And then it's just on this gray. And the other wonderful thing about this shot is they're not right in the middle. It hasn't been, you know, like tilted and cropped where everything's right in the middle. I mean, I feel like they're coming through. You know, they're going to come off. There's this whole energy of motion where they could come flying right out the other side of the frame. So I think that the composition of this, it makes me feel like it has not been after cropped as an afterthought. I feel like this is truly designed in camera, and whether or not, you know, that's true, it's very successful. So let's keep this in.
Okay. Pac-Man on the roof.
And it is all about that shape, you know, it's there. I thought this was really interesting as a graphic, as a abstraction, which is starting to go into. There's only one detraction, and I don't know if you guys can see it on your screen, but where the roof comes down, there is a foreign element of offensive shrubbery that could very easily be taken out. And when I look at that, my eyes going around, there's this line coming up, there's this great anchor on the side, there's that wonderful arch, and our eyes coming back around, and then there's that clump of trees in there that could so easily be taken out, and it would be worth it. I think that the image would soar into the realm of perfection if that one foreign element was taken out. Because you look at it, it's a dark, can you guys see it?
Yep.
On your screen? Okay. So anyway, that's my thought is get rid of it.
All right.
And I will pass on this image.
All right. Pals Forever.
Very, very bright portrait, street photography, all of these things. When you look at it, your eyes, you go back and forth, you're looking at the two faces, you get enough of the scene. You don't really know exactly where you are. Maybe a different view or more of the scene could tell us more. I think it's again, if it's part of a whole narrative about a place and street photography, and we had other images supporting it, we would be drawn into it more. These are portraits of people that we don't know. It's very great portraiture. I want to see in a narrative that tells us more of the story of who these people are and the place. This is a standalone image. Although perfectly done, I will pass.
Okay. Priceless.
This is a symbol of our time, or the time we've been through. I'm going to say of last year, and I have to laugh. I mean, it's a symbol. It's a great iconographic of something that we all get, you know, and it's well done. It's dramatic. It's you know, it's not a product shot. There's you know, there's drama to it, to the angle of it going back. There's tension towards the edge. So yeah, I think it's funny, and I will I'll put it in the next one.
All right.
It made me laugh out loud. So
all right, I got it. I just got to notice my internet is unstable, so if I vanish, just keep moving on, Rohit.
Okay.
We're good. We're good so far. Just letting you know. Go ahead. Self-evident. That's the title.
So this is a scene. This is something that's going on. We don't know exactly, and I think that there could be more tension if you just made a few compositional decisions. From the title, the topic of this photograph is the sign. So we look at the sign, but then there are all these other signs in the background. And of course, you know, they may tell us, you know, where it is, and may tell us some more information, but visually it's sort of a mood killer, I think. And that if you've done a few things compositionally, it would have been a stronger image. And that would be to get those arches that are going back just above the flag, let that be the top of your photograph. And that way you would crop out where it says historic district and visitor center and center, all those across the top. And then that other balcony and other really clutter that's in the top of your frame. Get rid of it. Crop in camera, frame it. I'm saying crop, and I mean while you're taking the picture, ideally. And then let that's what I'll do, is I'll look for a shape that's going to hold the edge, that's going to be the top design of my photograph. And that way you could get their feet. I feel like just cropping off their feet at the ankle is not as strong as getting the feet and then the shadow, and then that line coming down could become another compositional thing. So I think when we look at this, we see the sign and we get the sign, and that's our photograph. But at the moment, if we just tilt the camera down and look at a stronger foreground, a lot of weight at the bottom, all of their feet, even get all of the shadows under their feet, don't even crop off the shadows. Then all of that becomes the foundation. Then you have the people in the image, you know, as the middle, and then this wonderful curve across the top. Even if you crop off the top of the flag, that's okay. We know what, even if we don't see that, we know what it looks like, right? And I think that would be a very strong image. So this was close, but I would play with it the next time you're out and photographing, you know, street scenes or a group like this. I think that would really, really help. So I will skip this one.
All right. Siblings.
The warm tonality of the black and white really, it makes this very emotional. I think it's beautifully done, beautifully articulated. The background is nicely simplified, the light behind her head, just the radiance that's coming from their eyes is, it is even more empowered by this softer kind of tonality. So I think that's very successful, and I like it as a square. Again, I want to see a whole series as a standalone image. I want to know more. So I would put it in a street photography, great portrait. I would also define it as artistically articulated as far as the tonality, but I want to know more of the story. I want to see it as part of a group, of a longer narrative. So I will skip this one.
All righty. Next. All right, title of this is Stairs.
Great shapes. The foliage is going lighter, almost like a infrared. The black border lets us know that the shapes are important, that this is a composition based on shapes. All of the energy and lines are really cool. The thing where it starts to lose power is that upper right-hand corner. So that double angle, the cars and the parking garage and things like that, to me, that's another shot that's sort of bleeding into this shot. So I want to see that gone. That strikes me. My eye goes up and then it kind of goes back and around behind the garage, and it takes away the power of the composition of the foreground. So I would format it with that out. Then it becomes about the stairs, the hedge, all that can start talking together compositionally. I do like the lightness and the tonality of it. And I do like the decision to put the frame, the dark frame around it, like the film, like it was the film edge. I like that. I think it works with this tonality, but I would just lose that at the top, and I think you're good to go. So I will pass on this one for the final decision.
All right. Sunrun.
To me, this is very, very powerful. It's very graphic. It's dark and light. Even the frieze at the bottom of the characters, it almost makes him into this superhero kind of character. And then the flash of light coming out is like, kaboom. So it has this real strength. I like how it's off center. He's off center. There's a nice grayness to the background, so it's not totally whited out, and it says a lot. It becomes a symbol, and the way that the placement of his feet so perfectly on that line, and the strength of his arm. I mean, all of the stuff that's going on, the determination in his face, even though we do not see his face, we're only seeing it as a silhouette, that becomes more powerful. If we saw too much of his face, then it would not have this wonderful symbolism. The fact that it's a silhouette makes it extremely strong. I think if we saw his face, then it would become more of a portrait, not a universal symbol. So I definitely want to keep this one in.
All right. Sunset at stage light.
Great sweeping landscape. Love the simplified repetition of grass. It's all pretty unified grass that's leading us in towards the beautifully lit lighthouse. I think it's a lighthouse. Very, very compelling. The sweep, getting down low, get that big foreground, and it's talking to all the wonderful texture in the clouds and the sky. And if you go back and look at it,
Rohit, you want to go to the other one, the one that you were showing? Can you hear me, Rohit?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you're showing the previous one. We want sunset at stage light. I think you're showing the previous image by
I
it.
just went back.
We're good. We're good.
But the fact that everything is so gray, and then you have that beautiful beacon of light, and it's a lighthouse, and it's lit up, and it's not even at night, and you're not even seeing the lighthouse, but it's still this beacon, in the landscape. So I think it's very well done. I will keep this one.
All right. Sun thrust.
Great shapes that play with your mind. You have the different shapes talking to each other, so it's a nice abstraction. It's a lot of shapes and tonality going on in here. And when I look at an image, I'm very mindful of what do I see first? What is my eye path? When I look at it, where does my eye go? And it follows that track. It sweeps around and behind. It gives me a sense of movement, that I'm actually moving in and around the image. So it's cool. Very picky, but there's some little scraggly shrubbery in there that could be possibly taken out or just darkened. So it was not the leafiness of the little bushes and things in there take away from that streamlined, modern swoosh. I mean, like, I don't want to see the trees in there, even though they're there. I think if they were just darkened, that they were minimalized, and then the really only real detraction is that one straggledy bush, because you've got that really strong white vertical line coming through. I would just take that out. I don't think it would be that hard to do. That one little scraggledy tree, it stops you. It stops you from, you know, that really cool swoop. That is so picky, I know. It's a really good image, but I am going to pass on it for this competition.
All right. Thai swan.
Simple. The drop, the ripple in the water is really cool. Nice shape. Maybe if it were back a little bit more, the arch of the swan was up tighter to the edge, and then we saw more of a completion of the ripple, it would add drama. It would add some compositional drama. And I want to see more detail in the feathers. They're starting to blow out. And I think a darker exposure where you really see, because like on his neck, you're seeing all the beautiful shapes and textures of the feather, and you're starting to see it on the side. I really want to see that on the back where it's blown out a little bit. That's my best recommendation to improve this, but I think it's a really nice nature shot. For this time, I am going to take it out.
Okay, got it. The bean.
Shapes, the curvature of the circle, really good composition. What do you think if we saw just the top of the triangle? It's just so close to the edge. Again, really, really picky, but we're seeing the tops of the buildings reflected that all have these points. And when I look, and just that one, I just want to see that one little part of the triangle on the top left-hand corner where it's cropped off. I don't know if it's in there, if that's something that you can retrieve, but if that were in there, then it would, when we look into the reflection of the bean and all the shapes we go there, if we had that one little shape, it would boomerang us back down and really complete the visual circle of the composition. So really picky, but I think it could be an important detail that you would want to keep in there. And I will pass on this one.
All right.
The title of this one is?
Well, the title of this one was The Bean. The next one's Train Depot. Train Depot is the title of this one.
Okay. Okay. And that immediately lets us know what we're looking at. It's a great setting. It's very poetic. It's mournful. You know, the track is leading us in. The depot is our subject. It makes me want to put something else in there, though. I don't know what. And again, if you saw the top, that one little cloud that's cropped off, if you had the curvature of that and then another object in the bottom right to create this other cross coming back, it would be really cool. I mean, I could see it being like a story or a book cover, and maybe you had a hat or a glove or some, you know, human object down in the bottom right that would give us a deeper meaning or story, you know, to make us think more about what was going on here. The strong track leading in, you know, there's a lot of nice stuff going on. The texture, the tonality and all that is really good. But for some reason, I'm seeing it as a setting that would just be so perfect to have another element in there. That's when I saw it, that was the very first thing that came to mind. And I will pass on this one for the final decision.
All right. Train to Odaiba. Oh, I said that right. The train to Odaiba.
I feel like I'm out, like I'm going away. You know, it's funny how you can see motion and energy in a shot. And I feel, I guess because the focus is back a little bit more and the foreground is soft, which is fine, you have this sort of sense of motion, of being unsettled, and, you know, I can really feel like, oh, it's starting to move, you know. So I think that's really compelling. I would love to see a lone figure or subject. When I look at it, I'm thinking this is a great setting. Yes, the motion, the place is the subject. If you had another element in the scene, I think it would add another dimension to it. So I will pass on this one.
Okay, the last one of the monos. Wary in the ruins.
And I think I saw a print of this in a previous thing, or may have been a different one. And I remembered liking the tonality, the softness of it. Because we see so much of her face, again, I would say it's a portrait. It's a portrait of someone we don't know. But the fact that she's not looking at us makes it more interesting. She's looking off to the side like something's going to happen. You know, is it mysterious? What's going on? So there is a tension in her expression that goes beyond a portrait. The setting is simplified. So I would say it's a very interesting psychological portrait for today that I'm going to pass.
Alrighty, got it. Okay, Rohit, did you want to just, I mean, I think, did anyone need to take a break, especially the judge, a brief break? Because we probably need to move to color, and there's 49 of those, so you may want to pick
I'll
up the
go
pace that we did.
quicker. I'll go quicker on the next one.
Okay, just on the colors, that we're going to do those next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's best that we just move on. What do you think, Rohit?
I'm good. I'm good to move on, and I'll step it up.
You're a trooper. Rohit?
I'm good.
Okay, let's rock.
Okay,
Let's move on. Yeah, we have 49 of these, so bear that in mind.
Okay, I'll step
Robin.
it on.
You did a great job in the first half, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's 49 is what I have. Thanks for everybody for entering. Also, welcome to Vivian Lynch. It's good to have you here.
Are we waiting for things to get racked up, Mike?
Yeah, we're gonna go through the color. And,
okay, I got, if we have a little pause while he's doing that, I have a recommendation for a Netflix I saw the other night.
Go ahead while Rohit gets it geared up. Go ahead, Ru, please.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe you all have seen this before. I had not. And it's called. This is on Netflix. Our Planet Behind the Scenes. Is anybody familiar with that? But it's narrated by Attenborough. Attenborough, is that his name?
Is he still alive? Okay.
Well, I don't know when this was done, but it was it's showing how they set up the video for all these fabulous shots, like the sharks and these waters and some of the difficulties they had filming Siberian tigers and stuff like that. So I think a lot of you might enjoy it, and it gets into some technical things as well as some lighting. So again, it's on Netflix, and it's Our Planet Behind the Scenes. It's a documentary.
I wrote it down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'll check it
it
out.
sounds very interesting. I believe Attenborough, who is still alive, is in his 90s.
Yeah, that's right. There was a recent thing he did on the environment, and he was 90 when he did that. You're right.
Amazing. Okay, while Rohit's setting that, getting it geared up, I'm going to be adding 3 more videos for you to our little library that's building in YouTube. I need to send out the links to those. I'll send out the links to all of them. Members only. One of them is going to be about how to shoot reflections with from National Geographic Fundamentals of Photography 2. Another one is going to be that I'm going to add to the collection is going to be completing your outdoor photography with landscape filters. That's photo guide with popular photography. And the other one is going to be how to shoot Yellowstone in the winter. So it applies to any winter background. So I'm going to add those to the collection. I'll send the links to all of them, which there's already 10 on there, to everybody in an email soon. So you can watch those whenever you want to, if you feel like it. All right? All right. So we'll do the color next. And Robin will put forth her Superman or Superwoman suit and charge through these.
Yeah.
So start
yes.
with the
But do a good
slideshow
job as
first.
well. Yeah, do the slideshow. Yep.
So,
Yeah, we're gonna just show preview all these.
okay,
Yeah, you do
I
that
was
so
getting ready.
members kind of have an idea where we are to.
Okay.
Okay, go back to the first one. Is that the first one, or I think that's the last one that you used? That's
So
I'm sorry.
when we enter into this photograph, we are taken into this magical realm.
Okay.
And
Oh, the title of this one's Always Watching, by the way. Okay.
and it goes back to the whole symbolism of the fox, you know, the foxy fox that's very, very aware. But then we're in this idyllic moment of, you know, very private family moment, you know, and the light, how the light falls, the articulation of it is realistic. But then the whole scene has this soft magical quality, you know, the colors of the light, the softness. The subject is not right in the center, but down in the bottom right, there's this wonderful tension there from the creative decision that the artist made that did this. And so we really feel like we are in this magical land that's highly successful. There's really nothing in here that does not support and empower all the other parts of the photograph. So let's keep this in.
All right.
Next. I laughed when I saw this.
Umbrellas is the title. So there you go.
It's fun. It's a street scene, great color. You know, I'm sure people have pictures of me doing stuff when you're the photographer and you're in your own world. And it made me want to think of the photographs that they're getting, you know, shooting up like that. But it's a fun scene. I liked it. For the competition, I'm going to pass.
All right. A Fragile Balance.
Great title, because you kind of get nervous seeing this, you know. It's there's a magic, almost like you're looking at a you know, magician's trick going on here. I like that's color, but it's not you know, overly saturated. The egg itself has the most color, and I love how these little, it's almost like a lampshade where the light behind it, we can almost see into this magical egg. And then the repetition of the reflection empowers the composition even more. My only criticism, and of course this could be seeing it in digital format, and actual image, it may actually be there, but the top of the egg is starting to go totally white. I would like to hold a little more definition in the top of the egg that's blown out. There's like a line where you see, you know, the texture of the egg, and then it just kind of drops off. The reverse of the egg that has that really cool shadow on the bottom is very strong. So I do want to keep this one in.
All right. Got it. Amara. Okay.
Amaryllis.
Thank you, Amaryllis. And anyway, Amaryllis. That's the title we'll go with. I couldn't read it.
I'm familiar with the flower. It's a beautiful flower. This becomes a great documentary where we can see what it really looks like. I think that as far as adding more interest to it, you could get closer, and you know, because we're seeing it right in the center and we're seeing the stuff all around the edge. If you went into it and crop some of that off and it started to go more into the realm of abstraction, I think it would be more interesting. Or if you came back and it was part of a whole still life scene where we saw a background and other things like that, it would take us beyond this photograph, which is a very strong documentary. Just as far as interest, I would either recommend being closer or making it farther back as part of a overall scene. So I will take this one out.
All right. Amsterdam. Amsterdam's the title.
So it said that a photograph can tell a story, and I'm sure that there's quite an interesting narrative here. The choice of the red light makes us, puts us in the red light district. So all of these things here are symbols that immediately tell us that. So yeah, it's and you even have a guitar. It's a really funny and telling narrative. So I did find it interesting. It could be used as maybe even a book cover or some kind of deeper story that it could illustrate. So I like the simplicity of the color, and it also made me laugh. In the overall choice, I'm going to take it out.
All right. Ascendent or anyway, leaf. I'm sorry, I really can't.
That's the name of the variety, I guess, of the vine.
Thank God for a botanist here. Go ahead. I appreciate it.
This one, I want to see it. I want to see more. It's very simple, but I think it could be, again, closer and have more tension. It could be in the realm of abstraction. I also think it could be a little sharper. You could pop it even for more contrast. I think it's a good start to start looking at plant forms. But I do want to see more of a compositional decision. And I will take this one out. I would like to see this in black and white.
Bells of the Waterfall.
Sorry. I'm trying to move it out. So I'm jumping the gun there. My apologies.
Oh, we're good.
So again, it's this really cool shape. There's a lot of the blurry background that's not really informing us or a real strong compositional background. I would like to see this closer and in black and white. The forms are so interesting that I think the colors distract from that repetition. So I'd like to see closer up and maybe consider doing it monochrome. And I will take this one out.
All right. Bird Island.
And the title had me looking around, and then I saw the bird, which is the little white spot. It's a soft, very, very pretty scene. It's chosen as a panorama. I think it's slightly wider, which gives more of a restful quality to the scene. There's a sharpness and a softness that's going on in the way that the artist chose to articulate this. I think it could be a little less glowy, because the glowiness is also making the bird kind of have a sort of a glow around it, and we're losing detail in the bird itself. So the whole scene could have been darker. We could have seen detail in the bird, even though it's so tiny, I know. And that could actually add a little bit more to the mood. It's a very beautiful place. So for now, I will take this one out.
All right. Blue Hour.
Beautiful scenic, our eye goes back. The sky is getting a little bit blurrier as it goes up. And I would like to see that stay sharp all the way. I mean, there's really not a reason why that, because you have this wide angle, that would not be as sharp as the whole scene. I don't know if that's something that the artist chose to do, but I think in this sense, I would like to see the whole scene sharp and not have that blurred out or have that depth of field drop off, if that's the case. So I will pass on this one.
All right. Colors of life.
I was very compelled by this. I've seen images that are colorized before where you have a really contrasty black and white and then something, you know, really brilliantly like lipstick red in it, you know, that's been something that we've seen before. But the fact that this is a sepia and that it's soft, and then color, just the parts that are color are these pastel colors, I found it really interesting. I thought it was a great color study and I liked it. It definitely makes me feel like I'm in another world, another place. One thing that I would recommend that I would love for you to go back and do, if you would, please, is colorize everything in there that would have a color. So you've got the colors in the bags, you have the color on the first shelf. I think there's a colors going on up, you know. So I'd like to see all of them, you know, all of the little products have that same foundation, and maybe even the brooms on the right, some of the other things, some of the other little things, not the wall or the floor or anything like that, because in that point, you know, the whole thing is colorized, right? But it just seems like the areas that you chose drop off from the other elements that could also have been colorized in that way. And I mention that because I think it's a strong image and I think it would be worth doing that and I would like to see it. So I'm going to keep this one in.
Okay.
Next.
Covered bridge at Mill Park.
This is a beautiful, scenic. I like how it's framed. I like the bridge, the softness of the water with the longer exposure is very nice. I like the sharpness of the foreground in the bridge. The upper right-hand corner, there's not as much interesting stuff, and there's a house and another deck or some things up there that aren't as romantic. So just that quadrant, or just the things in the farther background, which I'm saying is the area beyond the bridge, could be softened. I think the sharpness and contrast there becomes too heavy and our eye goes up to all that busyness. So if that were softened and blurred, then the juicy, meaty part of the image, which is the stream, the foreground, and the bridge, is going to become more prominent, and it's not going to have that busy, unimportant part fighting with it. So that's a recommendation you may want to consider, and I will pass on this one.
Okay. Curtis Salgado, 2018.
So this is obviously a concert shot. I don't know who the person is. I don't know if it's a famous person or someone you know. This photograph would become interesting to me if I knew who it was, because it's a portrait of someone singing, and that's all I know about it. You know, there's a blurry background. I don't know what style of music it is. The person's head is, you know, right in the center. So I want to see more of a narrative and some other elements that can make it more poetic about a performance, or that could have, I don't know, just other elements of interest, rather than just the portrait of the person right in the middle. I think that doing photographs of performers is really, really interesting. Hopefully the performing arts will be coming back soon, and I would really encourage you to go out and if you enjoy that, shoot some, but think of it as a overall scene, overall, you know, composition. So I will take this one out and we can go to the next one.
Right. Daylight.
So I start looking at this and my eye is kind of going all over the place. It's like I'm looking through these different elements. I don't know exactly what the subject is. In that way, it does start to become abstraction. The it's daytime, but then the lights on, and there are all these different signals, that I'm seeing when I'm looking in here, and I don't really have one place that my eye is going to anchor me. I think this is definitely something to continue to look at and play with as far as shapes and composition. The bottom right, if I get rid of that, the yellow and the other colors, and maybe crop it as a square, it becomes much more simplified. And then I kind of look at it and, then I can see these, repeating triangles, that kind of thing. So I would maybe just crop off the bottom and do it as a more simplified square. Very fun to start looking at shapes like this. I like the way you're playing with it. So I would say, please continue that. And let's take this one out for now.
Okay. Fairy mushroom.
So the title immediately takes us into this, the hidden realm, this little tiny world that we can see, with our camera, that, that you're not going to be just walking around in the real world. And I like the choice to make the mushroom monumental. It's big and in our face. It's filling the screen. The focus is right on the important part. I like the foreground and background dropping out. That all works. Because of the title and because of the mysteriousness of the subject of the mushroom, I do think it's slightly over sharpened. So if you have another version and you went back to it and just didn't, because if you look close, you can see around the shape of it, you're starting to get that hard kind of outline. And I don't think that needs to be that sharp. It can still be very sharp, but also have a soft, pleasing quality to it as well. So that's really my only thought that might improve this. But I do like the image, and I do want to keep it in for the final decision.
Okay. Fish out of water. Speaking of refraction, but fish out of water.
Very entertaining to the eye. You look at it and it becomes, like a very straightforward studio kind of shot. Here are these glasses, and then you have all this weird deconstruction, of the fish going on. So I do like it. I love the simplified color palette. That's a strength of this. If there were any other colors in there to take away from the sort of pop art thing that's going on with how it's divided up, it would not be as strong. So really good. I like how the water is turning sort of that aqua. There's a little bit of the aqua blue that's the polar opposite of the orange color on the color spectrum that also really works. So very cool. I'll leave it in.
It's a good example of the challenge that we're going to have. So anyway, go ahead. The next one is, feel sorry for the fish though. For the ride home.
Cool travel documentary shot. When I look at it, I look at the bike and then I kind of go around the whole scene. I'd either want to see it tighter. I think the interesting part might be the shape of the bike being all white and the texture in maybe more foreground. We don't see the full arch of the curve that would relate back to the bicycle tires and sort of the curves that are going on in the pavement. That part feels truncated, and that makes that part of the photograph not as important. So I would look at it again compositionally, where you have that completion of the arch that relates back to the bicycle tires, or going in and getting more of a tighter composition somehow. I like the tonality. I like the place. I think just playing a little bit more compositional, playful composition would make it more interesting. Next.
All right. Okay, that's not for consideration then further?
No.
Okay, got it. Okay, gooseneck.
Cool sweep. Great exposure, detail in the highlights, really cool. I think it goes into a documentary kind of category. It's a beautiful specimen. I think that was chosen wisely. As far as creative composition, I want to see either tighter or part of an overall table life. I think it's a very strong documentary type of photograph. For the competition, I'm going to pass.
All right. Heavenly Abode.
The clouds wafting up and out of it make it interesting. I do think it would be more interesting if it were not just right center in the middle. If it was kicked off to the side, more compositional tension, that it would be cool. It is a cool subject, and I like the idea of, you know, of it being a nest and all that, but I do want to see more compositional tension, and I'm going to take it out.
Right. Hello.
And it's right, you know, it's bright in your face. It's beautiful. I think it would become stronger as part of a whole series of photographs. As a standalone, it's perfectly articulated. It's very well done, but you know, compositionally, it's, you know, center. The title is, you know, hello. I mean, it's right there in your face. I mean, that title speaks to it. But I think it would become stronger if we saw a series of 9 of them together. Maybe they're different colored flowers, or, you know, flowers with that same shape filling the screen that much. But I want to see it 4 up or more to make it have a deeper compositional interest. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the way it's shot and presented, but for this time I'm going to pass.
Okay. Next is Innocence.
And I think I saw a print of this. I think I saw this in another competition we did. I'm not sure. It may have been a different outtake. It's a portrait. I think it's beautiful because she is so beautiful. I love the red collar and the sweetness of her face. I do think it needs to be sharper, meaning her whole, you know, her eyes, hair, nose, and all that. I don't know if it's because it's up, the focus is more down on the sharpest part seems to be on her collar, which is not the most important part of the photograph. So I would want to see all of her features sharp, and I would want to see more, again, not just the portrait, the head in the center, but I want to know more about her, where she is, where she lives, what, you know, what the scene is around her. The title speaks to the sweet emotion and, you know, slight wariness that we see in her face. I think that's the strength of the photograph. I would look at when you have opportunities to photograph people in the street or wherever, I don't know where this is, I'm just guessing. I would really work at getting the eyes and the facial plane sharp. And I will take this one out.
All right. Into the Night.
So I'm so compelled by this because it's presented, it's articulated like a painting. And so, you know, first thought is like, whoa, that's not a photograph. But then it makes me want to know, it's like, okay, well, it's in a photographic competition. What was the original photograph? What is it? You know, am I looking through a lighted room out into the darkness? You know, what is this aperture going into this dark space? It's totally unknown to me. And I think for that reason, I'm compelled. I do want to know more. And I would ask the creator of this to tell us. There's been a real movement, and this is another thing we've talked about on our second Saturday photo party, is when is a photograph an abstraction? You know, if you, like, I can see this really big in a gallery and somebody buying it because this composition. There are all these hints of structure, of composition going in here that I love. I could see this being big and beautiful on the wall. But if it's a photograph, do we need to know that it started as a photograph? You know, these are all things that are, you know, I'm getting far afield and I know I'm getting late, but I did find it really, really interesting, and I will leave it in.
All right. Into the spiral loop.
Shape, composition, very, very interesting. It almost becomes like this keyhole into another dimension. I would do something to it to make it more emotional. The shape, you know, the lighting and all that is nice, but I want to see it simplified somehow. And I don't know if that would be a post-production effect of something that you could do just by making it darker. The one thing that throws me off my game when I'm looking at it is that square thing in the upper right, that sort of tan looking thing hanging down. I'm going right to the center, and then I look up at that and it's like, I don't want that to be there. That's the odd man out. So I would get rid of that and look at another way to take it more into a abstraction in how you articulate it. Not as real, not as realistic as this, if that makes any sense. So I will take this one out and next.
All right. Just you and me.
Really cool. I like how it plays with your brain, you know, because it all fits together, but it's been deconstructed. I think it's a very strong image. I liked it. When I look at it, that green puddle on the upper left, and you kind of see a little bit on the other side too, I would just get rid of that green color, because it starts to be like a green grass, maybe because it's the color of shrubbery. I don't know, but it looks like a tonality from a different photograph that's creeping in. So I would just select that area and make that green a blue or a pink like you see in this other part of the reflection. And I think that will really, really strengthen this a lot. Something that simple, but I think I would bump this up into the category of perfection. And I do like it, and I'm going to put this in the final consideration.
All right. Late summer splash.
I want to be farther back to see more areas of sharpness. Right now, the sharpest area that's coming out of you is this rock on the upper left. And I either don't want to see it at all and just see the blurry, beautiful abstraction of the water alone without anything sharp in there, or I want to see further back the whole scene where you have other anchoring elements of sharpness to get the water blur going. I love the energy of the water. I love the color. I just want it to be farther back, or further in and just the water. So I will take this one out.
All right. We are about halfway point for the color. Next. Looking Glass Falls.
Beautiful, scenic, soft. The upper triangle of shrubbery is too sharp because it's something far away. It's way behind you, but the sharpness is coming forward and it's fighting with these rocks that are coming forward. So I think if that were softened, the whole thing would be stronger. I love the sharpness of the rocks. I love the blur of the water. It's just that shrubbery is not your subject and it needs to be knocked back. It could also be darkened so it doesn't fight with the really more beautiful elements.
All right.
I'll take this one out.
All right. Low country afternoon.
Beautiful repetition of form, nicely done. Again, I look in, I see these little white things coming through, like in the background, like a fence, and then just under the other thing, there's a little fence. And because it's bright, I see it. I see it as almost like little dust spots or something. I would take them out, even though they're tiny, because they're so bright, our eye goes to it. It's a beautiful scene, and for our purposes today, I'm going to take it out.
All right. Memories.
This is an odd one. I mean, it's a place. We see a sculpture. We see this beautiful color. The thing that's the great about this is there's no distracting element of green or any other color. It almost becomes monochrome in its simplicity. And then there's that one little bright pink spot. I think it works. It makes you ask questions of, you know, what is this? What's it about? And I found it compelling and unique, so I'm going to leave it in.
All right. Molten Gold.
Beautiful, restful scene, all about light and time of day. I would simplify it by getting rid of that one little clump of shrubbery on the upper left. That doesn't serve the scene, the simplicity of the scene. The other thing, I think it's been over sharpened where we start to get that white outline above the black rocks. And that kills the atmospheric perspective that would let us soar all the way back to the horizon. There's not really a hard line on the horizon like there is on the rocks. See what I'm talking about? So I would soften that, and I will take this one out.
All right. Natural Bridge, Alabama.
So I really feel like I'm down, you know, I'm down in this, down in the hole, so to speak. I like it. I think the strength of it is the interior rocks because it's so sharp. The trees and everything up above become almost like another cutout photograph. You lose the mystery and softness of the patterns of the rock down around you. So I would blur that. I would not have that be as sharp. I would just go in and take it down as far as contrast and sharpness, because that's now the frame's strongest part of your photograph, but it's not the most interesting part.
All right.
Next.
Okay.
Take it out.
Okay. Not to review later. Okay. New Manchester Mill.
Beautiful scene. You know, when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at harmonies, and the color of that gold tree, while it's beautiful, I find it distracting because it's just different. It's different from the other tonalities. It's really bright. So I would either totally desaturate it or figure out a different crop where I cropped it out of the scene. Because when you just look at this, that becomes the dominant thing because of its intense color. And I will take this one out.
All right. Night Rider.
Great scene, great setting. Like the primary colors of red, yellow, and blue. That's really bold and in your face. The only mood killer is this modern light up here in the upper right. I know it's there, the street light with the thing. It does not fit with the car and the architecture and the night. It's a mood killer, and it's a great photograph. It might be hard to you know, try to clone that architecture and get it out there, but I would try it. I think that's the only thing that keeps this from being a really perfect shot. And I am going to, I really considered this one, but I just can't get past that light. And I know it's there, I know it was there and all of that, but it's gotta go. And so I'm gonna take one out.
All right. On Top of the World. Jeez.
It's really funny. It's nature. It's street photography. Great subject. I don't want to see it in the middle. I don't want to see, I want to see more of the scene or tighter, play with the composition, and then it's going to become even more interesting. The monkey itself, it's very interesting, but I just want to see something different than the subject in the center.
All right.
I'll take this one out and go
Right.
in.
On Vickery Creek.
Again, I want to see more base, more weight at the bottom, less of the scraggly bushes in the background. The meat of the sandwich of the photograph, which is the beautifully blurred water, which is perfectly done. I love the sharpness and the degree of motion that creates that beautiful water blur. It's very, very well done. I find the most prominent thing in the photograph, though, is this background up at the top, the very, very sharp trees and leaves, and the harshness of that color. So I would darken it, I would desaturate it, I would blur it, it can still be there. I mean, it still has nice shapes and things going on, but it's that background comes and becomes the foreground of your photograph. And again, I want to see rocks or something in the foreground, or not any at all. This kind of, those rocks are sort of in this half and half kind of place. And I want to see more decision compositionally.
All right.
Take it out and go to the next.
Okay. Pattern and texture medley.
You know what it is, and you're seeing just such a little part of it. So it's really the perfect distraction. There's no other color to jar us. And if you look at this, if you just really stare into this, it moves. There is some optical illusion, and no, I have not had any kind of mind-altering substances. There is something about this. If you just sit and stare, the scales on this side and the scales coming out of that one start to move like some kind of op art. Is it doing it for you guys? I'll ask y'all later, but there's some kind of optical illusion of motion that's happening when I see this, and it's just because you know what it is and it's moving. It's kind of creepy and it's cool. So I definitely let's put this one in there.
All right. Pontiac.
The light makes it. The backlighting, the repetition of shapes. There's no green, scraggly shrubbery or anything harshly different than every element in here. It's a perfection of arcs going back. I love it, and definitely I want to get in.
All right. It's called Pontiac, right? I said that. I'm sure I didn't miss that. Porch Monster.
So the photographer was very careful to get the sharpness on the face and eyes, which I think was correct and very, very strong. That's where the focus had to be, on the face. So much of the photograph, though, drops off. The depth of field drops off, which is good, but it's a big part of the photograph. Just one little part of it is sharp. So I would like to see, and you can crop off. You don't have to have the creature right in the middle, edge to edge, with nothing cropped off. You can start looking in more compositional, and maybe you just see the sharper part, I'm going to take this one out.
All right. Portman Star. Light,
Airy, really cool composition. It's the shape that we've seen before, and it's very compelling. You fall into it, and then there's that little shape at the top that's way far away. I think that brings us in even more. I think it's a strong image, and there's really, I could not give any other commentary. It seems to be cropped to a 4:5 proportion. It could benefit more as a 2:3 because that shape actually is based on the 2:3 math. So I may be wrong if that's 4:5, but if you saw more of that coming down and weighted and it was a 2:3, that shape would benefit from being in a 2:3 format. And I can explain later. I'm getting far afield again, but I'm going to take this one out.
All right. Furring.
So this one made me smile, and the quality of it is the light, the shape of the light. I think it's a nostalgic photograph. It's you know, a beloved pet for sure. I think it would have even more mood and mystery if it were maybe monochrome. Maybe look at it like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it in color, but it's such an important shape. The interesting thing is not just the cat as a subject, it's sort of that shape of light coming in. And I think that would become more prominent if it was monochrome. And I'm going to take it out.
All right. 10 more to go. Red and gold.
The bottom part is luscious. The top part is too contrasty and confusing because of the white coming through. And it seems to fight with the restfulness. If you look at the top, it has more chaotic energy. If you look at the bottom, it becomes more restful. I will crop it as a square. And then when you do, guess what? That little red circle that you go through in the whole of the trunks in the yellow tree, that becomes really cool. You see that more because that's the shape, not all the busy white shapes up front. So crop off the top, keep all the bottom as a square. I think it would be cool. And I will skip this one.
Oh, you not review it further? Okay.
No.
Make sure I had it right. Okay, next. Riverwalk Chicago.
Cool scene, a lot going on. I want to see either closer abstraction or more of the scene. There's a lot of cool stuff, but there's this weird cusp where I either want to back up or either I want to zoom in and get more of that cool old light, get just the cooler tones up top. I think there's a opportunity here, real opportunity to simplify. If you got more of the light, cut out all the red, just got the top part and had those round shapes of the light and the round puffy clouds talking to it behind the other buildings, and then it's all cool tone. And then to me, that would become more simplified. And the quality, the tonality of it is really pretty. It has a, I think that's very nicely done. But when you're looking at scenes, look for repetition of shape, simplification of color. And I will take this one out.
All right. Some sugar from Mommy.
This is a very sweet moment, very personal family picture. I like the emotion of the moment. I like the simplified background, but I want to see either more or less. I'd like it to be a little bit sharper on their faces. And again, the figures are right in the center of the frame. I think if they were off center, it would be more interesting. And her foot is almost on the bottom edge of the image frame. I want to see more weight at the bottom as well. Then if you had that nice weight, the feeling of the corners of the image, and then the shapes of the wood coming up behind them, that would really become empowered as a as a compositional element that you could add beyond it just being, you know, a portrait. So I think it's great to photograph and work with people that you know, but you know, boss them around and put them in some compositional situations and play with that. I'll take this one out and
All right.
the next one.
Stairway Sentinels, it's a composite.
So to me, it's funny, you know, it's a great idea. Compositing, I encourage you to do that. It's one of the most wonderful things you can do. There is a way, and you know, you guys probably know this more than me, but there's a way in Photoshop where you can match light sources to the original image. So if the background has this real kind of yellowy light with the top cat, he kind of fits in that yellowy light, maybe because, you know, he's got that Siamese colored fur. And then the other cat with the tilted head, he kind of fits in there, but you start to get sort of more blue light. And then the other cat with the white fur on his face, he has this more blue light. So the light, that especially on that cat, does not match the whole scene. So, and you, Mike, you may know what I'm talking about, but there's a thing where you say match the tonality of one image, and then it makes the light sources, the tonality of light sources for the other one.
More of it.
Because that one cat looks like he's in a different light source, and then that tips you off that it's a composite, you know. Then,
color grading.
if you wanted, what?
It's color grading.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But then if you wanted to play it a different way and take all these different cats from other light sources and just put them all over the steps, you know, I think that would be really cool too. I mean, it's a composite, but you know that the cats were just all put on the steps, and then it becomes, you know, a really fun, you know, commentary on too many cats, I think would be nice. So I think something you can definitely continue to play with. And for today, I'm going to take it out of our final.
Thank you. That's a topic to bring up later at some time. Okay, next is Sunrise, Botany Bay.
Cool moment, cool shapes. I like the streak of light. Less at the top. I'm just dying to see a big, heavy foreground to hold all that up. When you have more weight at the bottom, the whole thing lifts up. And even though there's less sky, it makes it more about the sky, like you're looking up at it. This has a top heaviness that that makes it, I think, less strong. So I love colors and love the scene in the moment. I'm going to take it out.
All right. 5 more. Sunrise, Gulf Shores, Alabama.
Love the soft airiness, love the glowiness, love the simplified soft color. I don't know if it's a 4x5 or a square, but it's one of those shapes that I feel like you need to pick your format. It should either be a perfect square, or maybe it is 4x5, but I think it would benefit from being more of a 2:3 ratio, the ratio of 35mm film, which gives you a stronger panorama feeling. It looks like it was arbitrarily cropped to an unknown format size. So I would just look at it as far as when you're shooting, say, okay, all of these are going to be square. All these are going to be, 2:3, and compose within that. I like the composition. I just think the format could be more determined.
All right.
Let's take it out.
Okay, next is Thai Monk.
This has a nostalgic quality, I think, because of the colors. I like the softness of it. I think it would be of those where you see a little less or a little more. If you cropped it as a square, it becomes stronger, and you lose the power plugs and the coffee urn on the other side that are very modern elements. And then it has this real nostalgia, and it's much more simplified. Or if it's bigger and you want to see more of the modern stuff, and you're like, okay, well, this is a guy, he's doing this ancient stuff, but in the real world, you know, he's in the modern day, that you actually could see a little bit more on the sides. Again, it's sort of an intermediate crop. Felt like you needed to decide, I'm going in more or I'm going back out. And because he's looking at you, it becomes a portrait. If he was not looking at you, or if he was, you know, more introspective, and then we were just looking at him and he wasn't looking back at us, it would have a totally different mood. I do like the colors and tonality, but today I'm going to take it out.
All right. The Journey to Heaven's Light composite.
Really cool. Yes, it's all centered. But there's all this other stuff that's happening, and it's the choice of color. Cool colors and warmer colors are in there, even though they're all blues and greens. It's all about color choices, and I think that as an artist, this person chose very wisely. It's energetic. We're moving in and out. That one bright spot is our anchor, and then all these other shapes that are very organic, I find really, really pleasing. So I think it's a successful exploration. If the colors were not like this, it would not vibrate the same way. So there's a lot that this person did, I think, in picking that makes it successful. So I'm going to leave it in.
All right. 3 more. Union Break.
It's the seen and the unseen. You know, I mean, we know probably what the rest of them look like, so I think that's interesting. But I want to know more. I want to know, you know, who they are, why they're there, maybe see more of the scene. It is nebulous, and in some ways it's good. Compositionally, again, I think that green is the mood killer. That, you know, I like the window. So if you crop out that, you're going to lose a cool window. I would just completely desaturate that green so the leaves look like they were brown or something, you know, because that green is the most prominent thing in the photograph, and I think it kills the mood and mystery of it. So I'm going to take it out.
All right. I wonder if they're dead or alive anyway.
Their
I just wonder if the 2 people there are dead or alive. You know, they don't look good.
Exactly.
Okay, next is woodland color. Sorry.
The harmony of the really, really bright fall colors work together. Again, I think that green is in the foreground is like a different element. So I want to desaturate the green or crop it out, or just have a more simplified repetition of shapes. The one on the right is like a bay tree, I think, or a rhododendron that's evergreen. It's a different kind of mood. It's evergreen, so it's not going to turn to fall colors, and it's a different shaped leaf, and it's a bigger leaf. So I keep looking at that and some other stuff, and I'm thinking, well, that's not as harmonious as the other part. So I think the left-hand side cropped as a square becomes much stronger, and that way we start seeing the shapes of the trees more, and there's a unified foliage that's working for us. So I think there's some really great compositional stuff in here. It just needs to be gotten into tighter and played around with. And when you're out in nature shooting, that's something that that I'm going to talk about that I think you'll really like. For today, I'm going to take this one out.
Okay, last but not least, take a deep breath, everyone. Zion Splendor Composite.
Great sky, and I want the sky to be dominant. The foreground, you know, it's there, but it looks like from a daytime picture. I think that wonderful rocky scape is great, but I think it should be a little bit darker. Right now, it's like a nighttime sky with a daytime photograph. And I think the beauty and mystery is definitely the stars, you know. So I would darken and simplify the daytime part so that it looks more night. And then the other thing I would do is watch out for that really hard, jagged line that's where the rocks, where the mountain meets the sky. We should not see anything there. That should just fade into, I don't mean it should be blurry, but it should not be sharpened at all, because we don't want to see that. That line pops it right up in our face, and it's way back in the distance. So if the foreground is darkened and that sharp line goes away, then we can just sail on into this beautiful astrophotography sky that you've created. That is the star of the shot.
I'm sorry, Raheem.
Yeah, this is yours image, right? Steve?
Right, yeah, it is.
Yeah, so this is honorable mention.
Well, so thank you. The interesting thing about this shot, it's taken in Agra, and I was actually took this shot through the window of a bus as we were driving past the scene on the street. And
Wow.
and so it came out. I took a lot of them, and a lot of them were not in focus, but this one was.
It has a real nostalgia to it. I mean, I never would have guessed that. But you know, in a way, it's the power of that image is that they were not observed. I mean, it's not like we're standing there messing up the energy of what was really going on, you know.
Yeah. No, they had no idea that I was taking this.
And I think you feel it. You feel that authenticity, you know. So congratulations, very well done.
Thanks very much, Rob.
Steve, this
Okay.
was in Accra, ACCRA.
I'm sorry?
This was in Accra,
Agra,
ACCRA.
A-G-R-A, Agra.
That's where the Taj Mahal is.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Good shot, Steve. Next.
thank you.
Okay, next honorable mention, migration, and that's by Daryl.
Yeah, so I went on a trip to Florida last week, going down I-75, stopped at a rest stop, and lo and behold, this flock of migrating birds landed in the top of this tree with no leaves. I took one look over there. It's quite a ways off. It's a 500 millimeter telephoto shot. And, you know, there was no sky, it was blah. So I said, this thing is a natural for a high contrast picture. And that's what they were doing. I don't know why they're all facing in basically the same direction.
And then that one at the end is doing his own thing, you know.
Yeah, there's always a few.
Was Alfred Hitchcock in the picture too?
I thought about it. I think they're starlings, but the light was low, and I've been able to get the color version shows a little bit of their color. There may be some robins who are hangers on there in there, but otherwise I think it's all starlings, all kind of speckled.
Very good.
I think it was the right decision to make it black and white and to give it that graphic.
Yeah, that was
And-
the plan.
And
All
the edge, you know, you have to have that film border edge to hold it in.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, because you're because of the
that's-
contrast, and that really shows off the simplicity, you know. And there's nothing else in there. There's nothing else to you know, to jar you to say, oh,
That's
this
what it
doesn't fit
was.
in. It's very harmonic. So very well done.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. Next honorable mention, ominous cloudburst, and that's by Jim Harrison.
Very well done.
Jim?
You gonna show it bigger, Rohit?
What?
Are you gonna show it bigger, Rohit?
Are you able to
There.
see it bigger now?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, this was 2 summers ago on the Blue Ridge Parkway, and you really rarely get to see a storm like this. But the thing I loved about the scene was the angry, ominous left-hand side in clouds, and then just the very soft grays on the right. And I tried to give it a sense of balance between those two.
You did, and highly successful. I just, I've enjoyed this image so much, and the more you look at it, the more little things you see, and the fact that you kept it soft, and that's what lets you go into it so deeply, you know, to really feast on that little subtleties, you know. It's beautifully done.
Thank you.
Okay. Third place, On a Wing by Michael Moss. Do
Evening.
we have Michael on the call?
Yeah, this was taken at the Rome Air Show. And I don't know, for some reason it reminded me of geese when they come in formation. And I watched a lot of videos and talked to a lot of people because I think the object is you're supposed to get the propellers blurred and the plane in focus. And then of course you've got the smoke trails that added to it, but it's almost like they're coming right at you from the side. And to me, it feels like they're going to come past you and then go over your head if you look at the photograph long enough.
Michael, I think it's your best airplane picture yet.
Pardon me?
I think it's your best airplane picture yet.
Oh, thank you.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Looks like Pearl Harbor to me. I'm gonna duck.
Yeah.
Run.
Well, I wanted to honor it because it's not your typical photograph that you see it. You've made compositional and artistic decisions. I think the main one is it was stronger being monochrome than full color, and it really lets you appreciate, I think, the what they're doing. And I do have a question for you. Did you compose this in camera with them off to the edge like that? I mean, I love it how it's just not this centered, you know.
I took a burst of like 6 photos when it came through, and this was the one that, I mean, I didn't crop it or anything, but this was.
That was my question. You did not crop it.
No.
And you feel it. You feel that you compose this in the moment, and that's why it's another thing that makes it so strong.
Thank you.
Very well done.
Okay, second place, Sunset at Stage Light by Steve Director.
Well, thank you. This is an interesting lighthouse, which is missing its top. So it's not actually a lighthouse, functioning lighthouse anymore. It's about a mile walk on soft sand from a parking lot. It's on Cape Cod. So it's quite a trek to get to this place. And it was nice in color, but I just couldn't get it to work right in color. So I tried it in black and white, and that's when it dawned on me that, and Robin, you noticed it right away, that all of the grasses were kind of pointing the lighthouse. I hadn't noticed that when it was in color. It was washed out that way. And so I worked on it for a while. So I like the shot, so I'm glad you do too.
Very much, very strong, and everything in the shot is important to the success of the shot. I mean, it's any kind of scene to really get a unique kind of landscape shot. Everything has to work together, and it's very harmonious. There was some other kind of different bush or tree or something in there. It would mess up the simplicity, but everything works. And then of course, the fact that it's a lighthouse, saying it's no longer, a working lighthouse. It's still the light. It's the lightest thing in there. It's shining. It's the whole house itself is the bright beacon in the gray. So there's a poetic element to that as well.
Okay, first place, Sun Run by Michelle Simmons.
Thank you very much. This is an amateur dancer I met named Erica Joshua Grigley, and it so looked like he's running. This was taken on the Beltway, but that was actually a jump. And of course, I had to have him jump over and over and over again to get the shot. And he said, I can't jump anymore. And right about that time, the sun came through that crack. And I said, Eric, one more time. So thank you.
That really, I'm glad you shared that story, and that speaks so much to my own heart when I'm working with people, whether they're models or people that I see like that, and I want to create an image with them. I have no mercy. It's like, just one more time, do it again, do it again. And then when you see all those other elements coming together, and you're just like, oh, please, this is it. And that's when it happens. And often for me, it's it'll be the first shot that I didn't really, I didn't overthink it, or it's the one where I had everything perfect, and it's always the very last shot. That's the one. And then you knew you got it, and that's why you stopped. You stopped tormenting him, but it was totally worth it. I mean, this is just really unique.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
That was great. That was a great shot, Michelle. And I knew it was yours immediately because yours is just so creative.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
So these I got, I have 7. I got to choose 7 honorable mentions.
Yes, 7 honorable mentions and first, second, and third.
Okay. So the first honorable mention is memories.
Okay.
And it's the
Hold on.
second row, second one.
Yeah, give me one second. Let me see who shot this.
That's going to be Ken Anderson. Ken Anderson.
Yes, that was mine.
Good job.
Thanks. Yeah, it was just very briefly, it was a monument in Havana, actually. And it was a pretty large monument, and this was a very small part of it. And I was just attracted to that little pink flower thing there. About all I did was sort of desaturate some of the green on it. Otherwise, it's pretty close to the way it was taken.
If you had not desaturated that green, you would have not had this photograph. So
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. And there's something about digital green that can be so overpowering. And I know you heard me speak about it several times tonight. I think that was a very important creative decision. I like how it's longer. You chose to make it a panorama, which are 2 squares together, which is very nice. But then the way that it's divided, the simplicity and the division of what's seen and not seen, it's very unique.
I think the plant reflects the somber situation as well. So
yeah,
somber environment. So the plant kind of reflects the somber mood rather.
Very emotional.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, next honorable mention.
Colors of Life.
Okay, and that's by me.
Congratulations. And I also Well, tell us about it. Tell us about it.
I actually shot this in Morocco, in one of their busiest markets, a city called Chefchaouen. I'm sure you might have heard it. It's called also called as Blue City. They use, I mean, over there they use these colors to paint on the wall. And so if you go to the city, I mean, most of the walls are painted blue, but you do see some other colors as well. So this was one of the street shops I was passing through, and they have all these colors laid in front of the shop. And I thought that could be a good picture just to get it. And then while I did, as you can see, I did some post-processing because my focus was to bring all the colors dominant in the picture. So that's why I chose the sepia back kind of tone for the rest of the picture and bring out the colors.
And the blue bag is the biggest one. So like you were saying, most of the walls are blue. So that's the biggest bag. That's funny.
Yeah.
It's really impressive that it's so neat. I mean, I assume you didn't have to go and straighten all the bags out. I mean, everything is perfect in that shop, it looks like.
Yeah.
From the way that the scoops are even sitting in there.
Yeah.
And the bags are perfectly rolled, and you know, there's no debris around the edges. I mean, it's perfectly.
That's how they get customers.
Yeah.
Well, you illustrated it so well, and in full color, it would not be as interesting because you've created your own sort of nostalgic pastel kind of hand-colored palette with this that that adds a real romanticism to it, you know, and that was your creative decision, and I really applaud you for doing that. And I don't know how much trouble it would be, but I would really encourage you to go back and to all the other little products that would have had color. Like if you have the first two shelves colorized, and then that next one, I don't know if those are little figurines or what, but I would colorize the rest of the shelves, maybe a couple of things on the other side, just so it doesn't look truncated right there. And then maybe even the little brooms, and then there could just be some faint more color to that, not the 992 and the wall, none of that, but just the objects, because it just kind of drops off. And maybe those ones out to the edge aren't, maybe the colors aren't as primary or as vibrant, but it's just a little bit there, so there's not that where it immediately stops and starts kind of thing to it. And the reason I say that is because I love this image. I think it's very unique and beautiful and nostalgic, and I think it would really be worth doing that last little part.
I'll definitely give it a shot. Okay, next honorable mention
is The Journey of Heaven's Light.
And that's by Mike Schaefer.
Surprise, everyone. Never expected that, I bet. But this was a vision of what it's like to leave Earth and go to heaven in kind of an imaginary way. That's why I picked the colors of the Earth. And that's why I made the, very astute on your part, Robin, to note that the center part had an organic plant-like thing. So you're leaving Earth and you're going to the heaven. The star is actually a real star. It comes from the solar eclipse that I took in Wyoming. So that's the way it looked right before the eclipse hit, which I calculated was literally hundredth of a second timing. Anyway, this is the jar I used, if you can even see it. And let's see if I can get this, because I brought it thinking it might have a shot at, well, maybe not. There it is. This is the jar I used. So you turn it upside down, put a light in it, light like that, and put a bright light in it underneath it on a light box. That's what you get, because it's got the blue parts to it. See that? But anyway, so what I did is I shot that, and then I took the brush and I smoothed it out to make it a swirl, and I just kind of created it from that vase, or the little vase I just showed you, and that's it. That was the vision, is what it's like to go to heaven. You're leaving Earth and you're going to heaven. So there you go.
And you know, it's part illustration, and I think it's really interesting to hear the stories about how these started as an actual photograph, but when you look at it, there is some, there's spatially some photorealistic reality that I think we feel, even though we don't know exactly what it was. So it's always interesting to hear what elements you used to create it. But like I said, when I was reviewing this image, if you had not picked those colors, it had just been, you know, some arbitrary, you know, I'm just going to do some wild, trippy colors, you know, it wouldn't have the power. So it's the choices that you made with that move you in and out spatially. And I think you showed a real artistic sensitivity when you did that. So.
Oh, thank you. Again, I was thinking about the most common colors we see on Earth is blue from the ocean and green from the trees, and that was basis for that. Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Mike, a pharmacological comment. That near-death experience phenomenon that you're referring to is also reproduced by hallucinogenic drugs.
Well, I didn't use that, but it apparently I didn't need it.
It's you know, there's a reality to the trippiness.
Yeah, thank you.
Very cool.
Okay, next honorable mention.
Next honorable mention is Pontiac.
Okay, and that's by Jim Harrison.
Jim, good job.
Thank you, Mike. This was at Simpson's Farm, which we were introduced to by Al McLeod, and some nice late afternoon light, and just took, you know, quite a few shots here trying to get a composition that really showed with the visage of Pontiac, and also really got the shapes of the hood. So hope everybody enjoys that one.
You totally nailed it. And the backlighting, the time of day, the quality of light, the fact that you went the extra mile to get everything balanced compositionally. You know, it's not just, oh, here's a photograph of a really cool thing, well lit.
I like the texture in the foreground underneath the face.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that it's off to the side and then it's moving forward, and then all this other beautiful repetition of shape. So yeah, totally excellent.
One thing I questioned, if you'd show it again, please, Rohit. Obviously, the very colorful head dominates the image, but you also have the same bright color in the lower right corner. But in the end, I thought it worked because you end up with a triangle between the specular reflection on the hood, the head, and then the same color in the lower right corner. So I don't know if anybody else has thoughts about that, but that's what I ended up with.
It's a very pleasing color too, Jim. And like you were saying, there's not, you know, that strong, but there's no other distracting color. You know, it lets that be the star of the shot. So I love it.
So Jim, was this like this bright orange originally, or is it because of the effect of the sun?
Yeah, the sun is shining through the object, so
Okay.
yeah, that's its color. Yeah.
Where's the Terminator while you're at it? Because it reminds me of the Terminator #2. Anyway.
Okay, next honorable mention.
Next is Fairy Mushroom.
And that's by Genario.
This is one of the collection of mushrooms I've done during the shutdown over probably the last 4 months out at Sweetwater. Tons of them out there. They're pretty much gone now, but the variety out there, if you look for them, is quite amazing. So I shot this with a 60mm macro. And
Cool.
it's pretty, it's a lot of fun going finding these things. But you got to get dirty. because you got to lay down on the ground to get most of these shots.
And it's worth it for the dramatic angle. Totally. It's totally worth it for that drama. And I don't know, did mushrooms come back in the spring as well? So
Yeah, it depends on the rain. If it's really dry, they don't. If you get some rain and moisture and everything, they'll pop at any time. But I was out there 2 weeks ago, the day after New Year's, and Karen and I, we found a whole cluster of walking around. So.
well, you made it look really monumental from the angle and how close you got. So I think that.
Yeah, I like these. Like these with a little $2 flashlight.
Yeah. Scenario with that light, it really pops out.
Yeah, it's just a little cheap flashlight that someone gave me. It was a promotional flashlight. And what a lot of times I do is this one was fairly easy to light, but sometimes they're so close to the ground, I dig a hole in the ground and put the flashlight in the hole so I could point it up at the bottom of the mushroom.
Like an architectural light.
If you find Mike asking you just where you took this photo, you might consider that he wants to know because he wants to use the mushrooms to produce some more of those body pictures.
I don't know anything about mushrooms more than I.
Well, muscarinic acid comes from a mushroom. Muscarinic acid is the original molecule that leads to LSD. So good point, Daryl.
Yeah, I have no idea. Eat them or not.
I'll tell you all about it later, Gennaro.
Okay, next honorable mention.
A fragile balance.
Okay, and that's by
It's me.
Mike. Yeah, Mike Schiffer.
Yeah, surprise. You know, when I shot this just the other day, and we wanted to put an American kind of flag. Have you ever seen Don McLean's cover for American Pie? If you're really old, you'll know what the thumb looks like. And I was going to clone that. I was painting it on the egg, and the egg broke. And I said a 4-letter word, so this is what I ended up with because I broke the egg after I almost got it done. So I wanted an American flag kind of on it, like in Don McLean's American Pie cover. But anyway, I didn't quite get this done the way I wanted it in the end, but anyway, I liked it. I'm gonna probably reshoot it. I see your point about the white part of the egg. It's iffy for me whether or not I kind of like the contrast between the detail on the bottom of the egg and the brightness, almost like life's gonna appear out of the egg. But I could see pulling that light back. But that histogram did not touch the right side of the curve, so the details are still there. So maybe I'll pull that back and take your advice and see what I get from it. But I kind of like the idea of having that contrast between birth and that kind of thing. But again, I might try to pull the whites down a little bit and see what I get.
Is this a composite?
No, this is as is. This shooting black acrylic reflection. I have a piece of black acrylic, which one of our challenges will involve black acrylic coming up, and 2 forks, which I taped down with tape, and I just literally put the egg on the thing and shot it in a light box. This is not a composite. It's what you see.
The bottom, the reflective tines look like they're not holding the egg.
Oh, they're holding the egg all right.
Oh man.
Yeah, because I had the American flag on there, and it fell on the black acrylic, so I had to clean it off.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the same thought as Rue, but then I saw the reflection, and although it does look sort of maybe like it's chippy toes on the lines of the fork, I concluded it was on the fork.
Yeah, well, get 2 forks, tape them down, and put it. If you have an oven that has a black top like this, see how it works. All you have to do is tape the forks, and the egg will balance on those 2 forks.
Hey,
anyway,
Mike,
yeah.
I think that would look really cool turned upside down too.
Yeah, a matter of fact, yeah, that's a good point, and I thought about that too. But there's so many things you can do with this. But you're going to see a lot of this kind of still lifes from me this year. I'm not going to enter that much this year, but this is what you're going to see a lot of. So, because I'm getting into it. So, anyway, thanks a bunch.
You may want to experiment a little bit on just for fun, trying different images on that egg. You know, composite different images on that egg, just see what happens.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of things you can do. I kind of like the idea that it's what it looked like, but you know, I'm all about playing with it and see what you get. It's all fun.
Well, it's a design, you know, you set it up and the reflection adds to the design, the lighting, you know, everything that you've done is really added to the tension of it as well, you know. I mean, if I tried to do that, I think I wouldn't have the patience to get it to balance, and I know I would definitely break a bunch of eggs.
Well, it wasn't fun breaking the one, especially since I got the flag painted on there and it broke on me.
Okay, last honorable mention.
The last of the honorable mentions is fish out of water.
Okay, and that's by Michelle.
Refraction.
Thank you. Since we're doing refractions, I'll share a couple things I learned with you guys. First, I did this whole thing without ever touching that fish because I hate fish. But this may be common knowledge to all DSLR users, but I learned so much about the different lenses on the iPhone. The way I ended up taking the shot was I had to move far away and use my zoom lens, or the bottom of the glasses were all crooked. And I can tell you, when you try this refraction thing, everything matters. The width of the glass, the distance from the fish to the glass, the distance from the glass to the front of the camera, it all really matters. The first fish was frozen. That's how long it took. This took like all day. To get the head backwards and the tail backwards literally took me all day. But thank you very much. Anyway, I hope that helps you when you do your refractions.
That's why it's called a challenge. It's harder than you think.
It was hard.
Well, it was definitely worth your effort and time. I find it very compelling, and the simplicity of it. I know it wasn't simple what you went through to get it all like that, but yeah, it's very, very compelling. So my compliments.
Thank you.
Poor fish.
No, he got me.
She hates fish, though. It was a dead fish.
My daughter ate it. I gave it to my daughter.
Did you buy it
Okay,
just for the picture?
Yes.
Third place is Into the Night.
Into the Night, like a song.
I couldn't.
And this is by Vivian Lynch.
Yes, thank you.
I couldn't keep from going back to this because of the composition. It is just absolutely wonderful, and it's a design, it's a composition, and you know, you have to tell us more about it.
It was the first time I had done this, so I was playing with a new app on my phone, which I normally do not shoot with my phone. So I was playing with the app, and I'm learning ICM, and I'm learning multiple exposure, and I'm doing all that with my camera. So I had this app, and I decided I was in the bathroom, and we have a light switch that is chrome, and it's square, and in the middle part, which you press to turn it on, it's round. So I had a pink t-shirt on, and I had a pair of jeans on, so I was reflecting in that light switch. So I took 8 images with my phone, and I took it in the light, and it didn't look all that great. I mean, I knew that I could probably do something with it, so I took it in Lightroom, did a little bit of adjustment, and then I took it into Topaz and turned it into the art picture.
It's so cool.
Reminds me of a Turner work.
Yeah, it looks like a
that's
J.M.
exactly.
Turner.
You beat me to it, Rue.
Yeah, me too.
I just really love looking at it. So it's really a reflection of you in a light switch.
Mm-hmm. With my pink t-shirt on and my jeans, and it was one of those days that you don't go outside. I was in and I was playing with just this app that I had never done anything with, and I'm learning to be more creative in Topaz. That's one of the things I love, like abstract art, it's painting. So that's what I'm teaching myself how to do in Topaz. So that's what I ended up coming up with.
Vivian, it's a pleasure having you join us. It really is.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So nice to be here.
What's the app?
The app is, let me look at it real quick. It's called,
Lysergic acid.
yeah, it's called Average Cam. It's AVGCAM on the iPhone. I'm not sure what it's called on, if on Android. I'm not real sure. It is a fun app to play with on multiple exposures.
Well, the real secret of success of that was, you know, obviously the simplicity, but there was a compositional thing going on there. So, you know, definitely keep your compositional eye engaged. That's what made that just really over the top.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. It really makes my day.
All
Second
right.
place.
Second place.
Okay,
is,
second place.
pattern and texture.
That's mine. Some of you have seen it before. That's not a snake, by the way. I made it. I got it's fabric that you can get that looks like reptile. You know, you can buy that stuff. And the eye is a ping pong ball. So that's.
Do you see it? Do y'all see it moving?
Yeah, the eye's not. This is not a real snake. The eye's a ping pong ball. You paint it, and you know that's what that is. And then the snake is actually fabric. So this is not a real snake, but anyway, you're right. You have two triangles kind of, and you're right. The whole point is to make it look like it's moving a little bit, but that's the real. I used a 90 millimeter macro Tamron lens. I used f32 to get that depth of field. f32. So.
Is the fabric textured, or is it flat?
No, it's textured. It's textured. Yeah, very textured. And so you just put it together and get a ping pong ball. You paint it and then you have to then you put a crack. You cut a crack in it carefully without the whole thing cracking. And what I did is I put tape over the edges so it wouldn't crack, and I stuffed it with black stuff like black velvet, and that's the effect you get. So anyway, that was the idea. So it's really an illusion shot, but the idea is to make it look real, but also make it look like it's alive. Like a very good observation there, Robin. Live.
How did you went into this with the intention to make it an optical illusion that it looked like it was going to move?
You're right, and the thing is that wasn't my idea. That is an idea that sometimes if you get online and you look at some photographs, you can almost sense they're moving, and so
yeah.
So I kind of stole that from somebody else, you know, a little bit.
No, but I mean, you totally did. I mean, I don't know how in the world you did that, but if you guys, I mean, like if you just look at it, that side of the vertical scales, it starts moving in, and it looks like the head and eye part is moving over it.
Like a wave, right? Like kind of a wave effect, like it's moving. Yeah, that was the idea, but
it scared me when I started looking at it. I was just like,
yeah.
How can it move? It's not animated.
Well, not everyone sees that. It's just like when you look at the old lady, the famous old lady and young lady photograph. Some people see the old lady and some people see the young lady. So it's optical illusion as well. So,
you know, Mike, I think when you get asked what you know the effects of the pandemic on you, I think you found a whole new genre.
You're right. You're right. Well, anyway, it's we do have a competition where we're going to do primary colors and secondary colors. Description's going to come out, but one of the choices is green, so certainly this would fit for that. But anyway, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Okay, first place.
You totally freaked me out, so that's good.
Good.
And then our first place color winner is Always Watching.
That is.
And that's by Jen.
Yes, Jen's not here. I don't think. Is she here?
communicated with Jen what was happening. She had gone out of town and just got back and is too exhausted to participate. She's got a photo shoot at Fur Kids tomorrow. That's a place that
Yeah,
I think helps injured animals or something like that.
yeah.
I'll tell her.
I think this is taken near her backyard or something. It's real close in her
Her
backyard.
next backyard through the window.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I recall. Anyway.
So this was a real, authentic scene that she saw through the window.
Well, I'll tell you what she just told me in a message. If it wins anything, you can just say it was shot in April last year at my neighbor's yard, 70 to 200 lens. She's been watching this Fox family. She watched them last spring.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I was wondering if it was, in any way constructed, because it doesn't, I mean, it's very accurate to the light source, and all that. And it's sharp, but it has a soft nostalgia to it as well. So yeah, call and tell her the good news.
Yeah, I just sent her a text message. My comment to her when I first saw this a while back was, when is that mama going to tell those kids to get out of the house? I mean, don't they look huge? And there was something like 5 of them.
Oh no!
Yes. Oh no!
Well, it's a great shot to put in your newborn's room or with their children and stuff like that. It's very touching.
Well, Jen has a real ability to take a very realistic shot and make it look like a painting. I don't know how she does that, but she always does that very well.
Anyway, that's all, folks. Thanks for hanging in there, the troopers. It's late, but it was well worth it. I told Robin that it's gone a while, but when you have quality, length doesn't matter. So thanks a bunch for your time. It was awesome. This is being recorded, by the way. I will delete all things that could get you imprisoned, and it will be up on YouTube, and I'll send out the link to everybody. So I encourage you all to really review the whole thing, because we all learned a lot tonight. We really did. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Robin.
Well done. Thank you, Robin.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you, Robin.
Hey, Mike.
Great critiques.
Thanks for the
Mike?
invitation.
Yeah.
Mike, before you run,
Mark, I'm going to call you about your book too. I'm going to hear more about that. So we'll talk
Sure.
about that later.
Call me anytime.
I will.
See ya. Bye-bye.
hey,
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Mike, I was just wondering, have you gotten any of my emails?
What's that?
Have you gotten any of my emails? We've had the dialogue back and forth about the
Are
ribbon.
you sending it to the one 5467 email or the 546?
I've sent it to every email address I know of.
Oh, okay. Well, I admit I've been a little bit negligent at times on my emails, but I will check them all.
Okay, I was just responding to your email about the ribbon. So,
Oh, I got that. No, I have that written down. I just have to send them out.
you asked me if I could buy your place. So I would have
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I'll take care of that. It's on my
I
list.
just wanted to be sure I had an address that worked. Let me know.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Send me an email whenever you can.
I did see it.
More important for you to get some rest. Take
Okay,
care.
thank you. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for a hit. Bye-bye. Be great.